Mr. Norman Sylvester Holt has been in the insurance industry for over 28 years. As an agent, he qualified for the prestigious MDRT in his first year of his career. He has served as a unit manager that has won Unit Manager of the Year trophy at Sagicor Life. He also served as an agency manager at Sagicor Life before transitioning as a branch manager at Chancellor Insurance Agency. So that answers the question, Tanya. Presently, he now serves as training consultant with the Chancellor team. He has been the recipient of many local and Caribbean awards and is known for his skill set in training and development. He is also married and also speaks Spanish fluently. His hobby in particular is singing. Maybe he could sing for us this evening. I don't know. But ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Mr. Telwell and Mr. Holt.
You're muted, Madam IPC. You're muted.
I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I was there talking away and didn't realize. So you did hear me say, ladies and gentlemen, please help me to welcome these two handsome gentlemen.
Yes, we heard
that part. Okay, wonderful. Now, I am going to ask Mr. Telwell just to take the floor first. And your client, Mr. Telwell, today is Brittany Thompson. I want to read the scenario so they can understand.
Mr. Telwell?
Good afternoon.
Before you go, Mr. Telwell, because we're going to go into a role play. Before Mr. Telwell begins, is it okay for me to share the scenario, Mr. Telwell?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Just to let you know, though, Brittany will be playing the role of Jane instead of a gentleman for John. Okay.
No problem. We're okay with that. All right, so here goes. All right, so Jane is a business owner with serial branches across the island. She owes a few creditors for business capital. She's married with 3 children under 13 years old, very bright children whom she wants to pursue tertiary education. Her husband does not work. She's currently paying on a $55 million mortgage for her home. She's responsible for her and her husband's elderly parents. She's a part of an association of medium-sized business owners, which she attends quarterly and is acquainted with several owners like herself. How does the agent, who is Mr. Telwell, how is it that he should approach Jane to get the appointment? And on the day of the appointment, and based on the above scenario, how does Mr. Telwell uncover the needs of Jane and her family? So these are some little pointers that they'll be bringing out. But that's basically the scenario, Mr. Telwell. So the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So just one minor correction. I have been at Sagicor, well, you did say over 8 years. It is now, not correction, I should just say emphasis. I can't believe it myself. It's 14 years. So a little bit, a very, very long time. but then not as long as Mr. Holt. All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a pleasure to speak, but I was not told that it was being a speech. I thought it was being a role play. So I got caught on the back foot, but it's all right. That's what it's all about. So Jane will be played by Brittany. So I'll be doing an interview with her. So the first thing, based on this scenario, is that I should call up Jane to ask for the appointment. All right. So let's call Jane. And you're online, right? Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
How are you today?
I'm great, thank you.
All right, you're muted.
Are you hearing me better?
I'm hearing you now, yes.
Good afternoon.
Hi, we met last week at the Chamber of Commerce meeting. I did a presentation on estate planning, and we exchanged business cards, and you said I should give you a call so that we could probably set up a meeting for later today. Are you still available for 3 o'clock this afternoon?
Wow, let me check on my schedule. All right, so I will be available at 3:30.
All right, not a problem. I shall see you there momentarily. All right. So we have, moving on, we have arrived at Jane's office in Freeport. And so the introductions, right? Hello, Jane. How are you doing today?
Hi, good afternoon. You're Mr. Tolwell. I'm doing fine.
Beautiful. The process that I normally go through is just to get some information from you to get a better feel of what your needs would be. At the end, I will then speak to you regarding some of the suggestions that we may have for taking care of your life insurance or investment needs. All right. So the entire process should not take more than about 30 to 40 minutes. So just for the record, could you spell your full name? You said Jane. Could you spell that for me, please?
Sure. My Jane is spelled Jane.
Your middle name?
My middle name, June, June.
And the Brown is spelled?
BROWN.
No E. Okay, good. And your date of birth, Jane?
My date of birth.
Or how old are you now?
Well, I am 32 years old, so my date of birth is the 28th of December, 1990.
Okay. Well, first of all, congratulations on this establishment. I mean, we spoke briefly, and you are the owner of a chain of pharmacies. How many pharmacies do you have in all?
Well, currently we've just opened our fourth branch. There are 4 branches. Yes.
Okay, congratulations. Where are these branches located? I know the one right here. So you have one in Montego Bay. Where are the others?
There's one in Ocherias, Kingston. There's also one in Mandeville.
Wow. How have you managed to do this in such a short time? How long have you started this?
Well, I have started very early. I've started from the age of 20, 21. My dad actually owned a pharmacy, and he actually he put me in charge of the pharmacy. So I've started then, and he had given me, the perks, and he had guided me. And while I was actually going to school, I was working for him. So that's the time that I've started, and this is where I am right now.
Okay, great. So is your father now retired?
Oh yes, he has retired now.
How old is he now?
50 years old.
75, 76?
Years old. He retired early.
Okay. No problem. Is there anyone else in the business with you?
Currently, I am the sole owners. I do have persons who employees, but I am the sole owner. But I'm planning on actually taking on a partner, but we're looking into that.
All right. You mentioned that you had some, do you have any debt or like other person that may have bank loans or private loans that you may have?
Yes, I have a few creditors that I've actually taken business capital from. So I still have a few creditors on the books.
These are institutional creditors or they're personal? In other words, is it the bank or insurance
Banks.
company? Banks, okay.
Yes, they're banks.
What's the value of these loans at this point in time?
Okay, well, the total value right now is 150 million.
Okay. You also, all right. I am going to probably need some additional information just to back this up a little later on, but as we go along, I will ask for that additional information, right?
Okay.
Your husband, you said you're happily married with some children. How many children?
I have 3 children.
3 children. Okay, beautiful. So what does your husband do?
Well, he's a contractor, and he haven't been working for a few months now. So he's working on another contract soon.
Mm-hmm.
So currently he is not assigned to any contracts.
Does he help you in the business as is?
In the business, he's not on the books. He's not on payroll. But
Right.
he does help me if I need to get any activities done. So yes.
Yeah. All right. I know this sometimes sounds hard, and I know you're both very young, but just a quick what if scenario. If you were to unfortunately pass on, or you had passed on last night, who would you want your business to be willed to? Who would you put in charge of your business?
Well, I want it to be willed to my children, of course, but the closest person to me is my other half. So he knows the operation of the business. So definitely he will be the person who will be in charge.
Okay. So let me just get this straight. You have taken this business from a single store to the 4 locations almost single-handedly, right?
Yes, I've had some help from my father as well.
Right. All right. Congratulations again. I mean, not many persons that I have met have done that in such a short period of time. And to be honest with you, as a woman in business, I'm sure you would have faced a lot of uphill battles to get where you are now.
Oh, yes, definitely.
And especially with young children. And the age of your children?
Oh, one is 3.
Could you speak a little bit, please? I think the mic may have gone again.
I'm so sorry. One is 3 years old.
Mm-hmm.
One is 5. And the other is 8 years old.
Okay. I see you did like me. You went 1, 2, 3.
Oh, yes.
All right. And your plans for these children, where are they now? I mean, 3-year-old, they're probably won't be in school yet, but the other 5 and 8.
Yes, they're all in school, including the 3-year-old.
Okay. Smart kids.
Yes.
What would you like them to do? You said you want them to partially take over the business, but what kind of training did you get to take over the business? And what kind of training would you want them to have?
Well, it all depends on what they want. I can't say that I want them to take over the business. I mean, I would love for them to do that, but if they have other plans, then I can only, support them with whatever decision they decide, decisions they have. So, but I really want to invest in their education though, because I think it's very important
Mhm.
in this day and age.
Of course, of course. And my first son is about to go to university, and you know that I didn't realize at the time. I mean, yes, I'm a financial planner and all that, and thank God I had put down some monies. But you recognize that it's going to cost anywhere between $1 million to $4 million, depending on what they decide to go into, right?
Between
So,
$1 million and $4 million.
yeah, so at the lower end of the scale, for those persons who just doing I don't use a regular degree because my son is doing a business degree. It can run you close to about $1 million per annum, by the way.
Oh yes,
Uh,
definitely.
and my niece just completed her a degree in medicine, and her mommy was paying close to $4 million a year.
Oh wow, 4 million per year.
4 million Jamaican dollars.
And
I don't
that's
know
how long
which.
is the course for medicine?
5 years.
5 years. Oh wow.
So you said you're not sure what they want to do. So if anybody has that scientific gene in them, you have to start thinking about $20 million just to send them through school, right?
Yes, definitely. And I could see where we could expand in a few years, and then I could see where the business can cover that.
Of course, we'd all wish for that to happen. Speaking of that, though, what type of income is your business doing right now?
Well, in profits.
Yeah, that will work.
Okay, well, I don't have that on the top of my head right now. I'll have to look.
That's all right. So what I'd love you to give me from that point of view is your financials, so we can take a better look at it. We can always schedule another meeting for that particular part of it when it comes to the business insurance aspect of it, right?
Okay.
But regards your personal needs now, what type of monies do you expend each month? I mean, your husband is not working right now. What kind of money do you expend each month on just basic living expenses, grocery, rent or mortgage, etc.?
Okay, well, we have accumulated in expenses a total of excluding the business needs, excluding the business, excluding the business, excluding the business. Okay, we have accrued a total of about 150 to 180 per month, including mortgage and day-to-day expenses for the family.
Okay, $180,000. And if we take out the mortgage out of that, the mortgage is about what? About 120 based on my quick calculation of 55 million. No, that is
thereabout.
Maybe I did go
55. Okay. The mortgage is about, because it is extended, so I'll say it's about 100, and I think it's about 135.
135.
Yes.
All right. Okay, fair enough. So I have a few ideas that I'd like to share, suggestions that I'd like to share with you. The first, of course, is as it relates to life insurance. It's interesting that the burden of taking care of your family has rested on your head at such a young age, but you have managed to do so well with it. And though your husband is not working, he has a potential to get back income in relatively short order, right?
Yes.
Okay. What about his parents? You said you take care of your parents now. What about his parents?
Yes, I'm also responsible for for both parents, my parents and his, because I'm the business is what's basically bringing in most of the income. So I'm responsible for both parents because he's not always on a contract.
All right. So what we'd probably try to do now is to try to even out that. Okay, so few suggestions here. What I'd like to do is focus a little bit on you and the what ifs. The first question is, what if you are not present? The fact that your husband has the ability to work and you would like him to take over the business, it means that the business should be able to sustain the income that you are currently getting, right? So I would suggest that if your portion of the household expenses come up to about $80,000 based on some quick calculations here, I would recommend that the first that I'm recommending is an income replacement fund, and that will take us to $7.5 million, right? In addition to that, education for your children. Oh, I'm sorry, that's $21.1 million. Education for your children, I'm going to use an average. Since you may have some professionals in the group and some persons who may just want a first degree for and not go any further, of $2.5 million per person, right? And that's of course for the 3-year period. And so 3 of them, then I'm going to suggest $7.5 million. So we're going to create a fund, an education fund. Now, how that works is that in addition to the life insurance, you'll also put some money aside so that upon them attaining the age of 18 or 17 when they're ready to go to university, you have monies there. So that combination of accumulation as well an insurance portion that just in case you don't quite make it to that age, there's monies either way. And finally, from a personal point of view, I would like to look at your mortgage liquidation. You mentioned that you have a $55 million home or a $55 million mortgage. Can you just confirm which is which? Is it a mortgage for 55 or is it a home that is 55 million?
Okay, so the value of the home is 55 million.
And how much of that do you owe on it? How much of it you owe on it?
So I have a total of about, well, the mortgage, I just had it for about 5 years.
Yes.
So I have a total of about 41 million owing.
All right. And the company that you took it through, do you remember if they had life insurance, if they had taken out life insurance with it, or you're not sure?
I'm not sure.
All right. So what I'd like to also propose is that we, at least for the time being, put in that $41 million on a mortgage liquidation fund. However, you just need to confirm with me, with that institution, if you had already taken out life insurance for it. If you did, then we won't need that portion. If you didn't, then I would strongly advise that we go ahead with it. Okay. All right. So I'm going to turn the third portion to mortgage liquidation. Now, from a business point of view, you mentioned that you would like your husband or your heirs, your children, to take over the company. However, given the fact that your husband is not fully involved in the business, I may not know the running of the business, I'm going to even suggest that maybe what should happen is that your husband take over the company in terms of its shareholdings, but in terms of the day-to-day operations of it, he seeks to find a proficient manager, someone like yourself, who would take it over. And so I'm proposing a Keyman Insurance. Now, based on what you had said, you said that in our earlier conversation, you said that someone like yourself,
a partner, yes,
right, should be looking at about what, $750,000 per month? Right. Now, as a recommendation, when we do Keyman Insurance, and you are the key person in your business, we annualize that figure, and then we use between a 5 and 10 year in order to bring the business back to where it is, or to maintain the business where it is. But being the type of person that we are, very, very conservative, we're going to make it at 5. So your key man insurance we're looking at is $45 million. Of course, being business insurance, that will be taken care of by the business. The premiums will be taken care of from the business. And the long-term debt that you have for the $100 million, again, we have to now determine if that debt was insured prior, because you mentioned it was from the bank. If it is insured from the bank, and that's why I'd asked if it was private debt or if it was institutional debt. Since it's from the bank, chances are it is insured. If it is not, again, we just like to confirm by the time we have our next meeting, if this monies were actually insured. If it is not, then I would also recommend that we take out that additional $100 million in life insurance on you. That will cover in the event of a loan. That way, if you were to have died last night, as I had said, that part of the loan would have been liquidated and the entire business will be passed on to your family, to your heirs, free and clear, which is what we're trying to do, right? So do you have any questions?
All right, so for the educational aspect of it, you mentioned that earlier you told me that a med school could cost anywhere about $4 million a year.
That's right.
I don't think I have enough coverage. That will be enough coverage, what you recommended to for the 3 children. So I'd like to up that some more. Even
All
though
right.
I could expand, and it's not that I want to ensure that I have something.
I'm not hearing you, sorry.
Even though I could use the business as well, I want to ensure that I have something for them, just in case anything should happen to the business.
So you're thinking that they're very bright, so you want to put it at $15 million then? For
And
all three, $5 million for all 3.
Yes, and for the creditors, it's $150 million that I'm owing, so I would need coverage for 150, just so the business doesn't have to be, liquidated in case anything happens.
Very well, not a problem. All right.
All right, so how much is it that I'm going to pay per month now for my premium?
Okay, so this is where we have to go back to the office and do a quick calculation. But do you have a budget in mind?
Just give me your figure and I'll tell you if I can work with it.
All right, not a problem. So if you will allow me to go back to the office, do some calculations, I'll get back to you later this afternoon, and we'll complete it, right? In addition, of course, we're going to need some forms to be signed up. And so what will now happen is when I do come back, I would need your audited statements, as well as, just the basics that we need to know of you, ID, TRN, etc. So I'd like to now set up a time that we can actually meet back. When can we do that? Can we do that tomorrow morning?
Tomorrow morning? No, the next availability that I'll have is Thursday at noon.
Thursday at noon? All right. And that will also give you an opportunity to speak to your accountant and get it. But I will get those figures to you this afternoon. I'll send you an email. Just remind me of your email address, please.
That is Jane. That's Jane J. Brown.
Jane J. Brown.
At lovepharmacy.com.
At which pharmacy?
Love Pharmacy.
LOVE Pharmacy.
Pharmacy.com.
All right. So I will send you the proposals later, and we will see each other Thursday, 12 noon, right here.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much, and I'll see you.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so very much, Brittany and Richard. That was very in-depth and interesting. I wish I had a client like that today. It would be a good May for me, right? All right. So before Mr. Holtz comes on, I just want to take a break here and just ask, just for some feedback, what were some pointers that you picked up? Anything that they did well? Probably you have sold a family before. Anything else they could have added that they probably missed out on? Just let me hear from a couple persons before we move on. Or any questions that you have about the whole procedure. All right, don't all shout at once. Who would like to go first? It was clear, presentation was clear. All right, so I have a question, Mr. Telwell. Are you there?
Still here.
All right, just explain for me, why is it that you mentioned to her to allow the husband to, could you explain that part? I wasn't clear on that part. Is it that you're saying that she should get him involved in the business and ensure him as a key man? That's what you're saying?
No, what I was actually saying was, since her husband is not an integral part, day-to-day part of the business, meaning that he is on the books, being paid, etc. It sounds like, based on how she brought across, it sounds like he comes in, drops her to work, probably sticks around. If they have a delivery, he'll stay around and probably whether help with the delivery, collect, things like that. It doesn't sound like he's integral. He's looking for his next contract. And so he's just marking time while at the store. It doesn't sound like he's integral in the business. So the key man insurance is really on her. And the idea that in the event that she passes on, she will need to hire someone to replace her. And her husband is not trained at this point in time, and is not, as based on the conversation, adept of continue the growth path that she has gone. Within 12 years, she has moved from one store that her father had left to 4 stores. In other words, she has grown this business fourfold.
Yes.
Good?
Yeah.
And so you want somebody with that dynamism to take over the business. And if not even to continue the growth, but to at least maintain so it can sustain the family. Because a business like that, you don't want to just sell off to somebody else. You want to maintain it and allow it to grow. But her husband not being as integral in the business may not be the ideal person. So you want a key man insurance that will provide monies in the event of her death to continue paying. And maybe at this point in time, of course, you have to look at the books. The business may not be able to afford the monies to pay that person $750,000 a month, which is what she told me that position is worth.
Okay. Okay, thanks for that. But in the end, the amounts that were mentioned were for the creditor and the education.
Right. So
from the key man part, that insurance part. I didn't hear that.
Okay, so the amount that she would be insured for the key man is 45 million. And the amount for the debt, if the bank did not do their job and put in insurance in place, would be $15 million. Sorry, $150 million.
50.
So we're looking at $195 million, just like that. Smile.
How did you get the 45 million?
So $750,000 per month, multiply that by 12, and then multiply that by 5 years.
Okay, awesome.
So I did the quick math while I was there writing on the paper.
Great. All right, any other questions before Mr. Hall comes on, or we can move in with Mr. Hall? What were you doing estate planning in that? That included some estate planning?
It included some amount of estate planning, but of course, we'd have to go a little bit more in depth if I were to touch on more estate planning. Because estate now would have asked her about her wills and specifically in terms of who should want to leave everything for.
Okay, awesome. All right. It doesn't seem as if we have.
One quick thing though, good presentation, Mr. Thelwell and Ms. Thompson. One of the things though that I was hoping that we would see coming out, I guess your client was always so nice to you, so it was an easy walkthrough. But you know, that's not always a scenario when we go and see these clients. So I was hoping that you would have gotten some amount of objection where we could have seen where you handled those in this case. But she was just open to you and wanted to give you more and more, you know, business. So that was a good thing for you. But from our end, sometimes we want to see where the objections come in and where we can buffer those. But excellent, thanks. So we wanted to meet a hard one now, Richard, where we can know how to deal with those cases.
All right. You know what I have found, especially with business insurance, this is just a generalization. If we are in this space, the same space where these business persons are,
yes,
Chamber of Commerce meetings, Rotary meetings, etc., and they see you and know you, after a while, they will respect you as
open up to you
and open up with you. That's right. So
yes,
one of the key points is that, as I said, we mentioned is that I met her at this meeting, meeting of business in person. So if persons see you there rather than a cold call, I find it you get more objections when you just go in and cold call.
yes.
Not saying it don't work, but you get more objections that way.
Yeah.
I understand. It's not the objection where they don't want to buy, you know, but where they, you know, all that you are saying to them, more like, you know, they have those sort of objection. But I do understand because you'd have laid the foundation before, so it was easy to go through. Okay, thanks for that.
All right, Mr. Holtz, you're ready for it, sir?
Yeah, man. I am
putting the icing on the cake.
I'm just going to be commenting basically on his presentation myself because I found it to be very in depth. I think he did an excellent job. Richard has always been a figures man. You know, he's always been a figures man. He's a person that can sit down and quickly tell you what your next 10 years are going to be like. So I want to compliment him for the way he went along in the discussion. In fact, in that little fact finding, he identified several needs apart from the business, even though that's what he started with. He identified dependence income because the old man is retired, then she's responsible for the other side too. He identified a need for education to show you how detailed the fact finding was. He identified another for mortgage liquidation in case the bank was not secured by insurance. And also he identified some long-term income replacement. It's a lot of information, and I think he did really an excellent job. I think the client is apparently a very bright lady, because in a normal circumstance, you have to try and take them along with you. In other words, I always said to the client, based on the information that you gave me, A, B, C, F, G. So I want to recommend too that he did excellent, but if any of you are going to do a presentation like this, you have to make sure you're taking the client along with you. You see, he said he just maths out the figures. Nothing wrong with that, because I know him to be a good figures man from a long time. You know, but it's, for example, he spoke of education. 1 million to 4 million, and then he broke it out to show it depends on what the need of the education is all about. He ended up at around 2 million per year, and that is a fact. When it comes to tertiary, tuition, boarding, book, food, no less than 2 million a year. So that was important. They're gonna stay there for 5 years. That's 20, what would like that? 10 million. So he was able quickly to identify the needs. Some of the recommendations now I would probably make once you realize that you are about to go to this client. For me, once I know her business, I would have Googled the business. So a lot of the information as to where, what branches she had, I would have probably known in advance. I would have probably complimented her for the fact she's actually helping persons to be employed, supporting the economy, and those things. Because in reality, once she has a company, it is listed somewhere. So you would go in with advanced information that, instead of asking her which branch, you would have probably known. So in fact, she would have been impressed with the agent because he would have known more about her business than she had anticipated. But that was quite good what he did anyway. The creditors, that's crucial. And he kept asking, is it a private debt or an institutional debt? So that is very, very crucial because you see, I don't know if you understand where he was going. If it's an institutional debt, for example, she borrowed money from the bank, chances are it is insured, but she didn't insure. Chances are it is, because the bank not stupid, because they have to recover in case you drop dead. If it's from creditors, it's a very serious thing, because when you take over a business, creditors is the first person that will shut you off unless you can pay your debts. And that is why, she inherited the business from her dad. Surely she should have bought some insurance on her dad's life too. Because when she came into the business, happily she was probably in there for some time. But as a new person, the creditor might not be very willing to extend credit unless she can pay off what is outstanding to establish that credibility that they want to see. So if the father didn't have insurance and she has taken over the business, clearly she has expanded the business. And with pharmaceutical, like any other thing else, I'm sure she have creditors as she mentioned, but they seem to have been through the bank. Through the bank. The bank would have covered that loan with insurance. Because if you were just credited with intention to pay the creditors based on a 3-month basis to pay the creditors, then probably they would have had inhibitions to extend creditors unless you could have paid off what was outstanding. So those are some of the great areas I looked at, but nonetheless, he did an excellent job. What was their desire about the business? This is where the will come in, because even if it's a real estate or just normal business, if it's a sole proprietor, it's good to have a will to say what you desire to happen with the business. Because if in her scenario, the husband was inactive, the children are too young. So he did the right thing in trying to establish a key man on her. But at the same time, who would take over the business? Because the key man is not going to pay money, cash, that now will allow somebody else to probably employ, unless it's the husband who is of age, would have now said, okay, I don't know nothing about this thing, but based on the money that the wife has left from her key man insurance, I'm going to employ someone who can run the place and so on for me. So somebody has to be there to make the decisions. And that is why her will could have stated, it is my desire that the business not be sold. If so and so, my husband can use it and such to establish, pay off credit, get somebody to run the business. But he wants to be involved from the standpoint of being her husband. Because she dropped dead and all his money coming. It still have to be clear what is it for. Because it's insurance money, unless it's the beneficiaries are the bank and the beneficiaries are the different creditors and so on. So somebody to be there to say, all right, this is supposed to go to that, this is supposed to go to that. But overall, I think it was a very good job. It's very in-depth, and has to go and work out the details. Billing relationship is crucial. So if for a normal person who is selling insurance, they could have probably zeroed it on one area first, and then as long as the client can follow them in, because the client care what he did. This lady was a very bright lady, and she didn't even give him an objection. Type of thing. So it's as one comment mentioned. So sometimes when you have person like this, you can zero in and try and tidy up one end. You go back and you tidy up the other end, and you go back and you tidy up the other end. If she can absorb all the information and education and mortgage liquidation and key man and at one shot, then it's good. But the ordinary man on the street, I find, you probably have to deal with one step at a time. And that's why the agents who are a long time in the business, They just pull their file and look what who don't have. And they are able to resell. And this man don't have critical care yet. That can't happen. She get that stroke tomorrow. No doubt she would even want to give her some of that because she might not necessarily die. Because she don't die, not insurance going to pay. No. Remember now, if you don't die, nothing going to pay. So it's important that a little critical care go in there. Because a person who works so hard and establish certain amount of asset base, they would have probably started to have little hypertension, diabetes. So to take care to make sure that if any critical ailment come up, then at least if she's alive and insurance don't pay, then that can take care of any ailments on that standpoint. But it's a very comprehensive presentation and very detailed. But you know, that is my friend from ever since. The figures, man, Richard. I tell you, Richard, boy, when you put something together, boss, you can always go back and tell the person over and over and over again. So my only recommendation, apart from his wonderful presentation, if you are dealing with a business person, you might want to deal with a certain section, and you go back and do another section, as long as you know the man is alive. Because the man die, you want to cover as much as possible, like Richard did. Affordability sometimes determines what you can do. So it was a good present. It was a good fact finding, very in depth. But he could always go back if he dealt with mortgage this or that. He could always go back and resell and resell and resell. Yes, as the lady's affordability. But it was a good presentation. So I would not do anything else except just comment on what I heard, type of thing. So I don't want to take up all the time. So that's my like 2 cents. Thank you, Madam Amoy.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Holt. Very good feedback there. As I said, I do agree with the part with the segmenting it, dealing with one at a time, because it's a lot to bite off, and probably you'd have a lot of appointments, not true? Those businesses are closed out. Yes. All right, is Mr. Salmon on? Rowan Salmon. Do you unmute, Rowan?
Yes, I am here. Good evening, everyone.
All
All right,
right.
so Rowan will do our vote of thanks. He looks so different on camera. My word.
All right, just allow me to get to a place of a little quiet. Yeah, a second. All right, just give me a few seconds here.
All right. Until Rowan sorts out himself. Anybody has any feedback? Anything to say? Any questions? Any comments? Any objections? That you have got dealing with your business clients, etc. That because Mr. Holtz just really commented on one scenario, you know. What about you in dealing with your own clients?
Right, I would just hello. This is Kadeen.
Hi, Kadeen.
Right, so I would set some timelines in terms of the I know Mr. Thelwell said, well, he can get back to me and tell me if the bank has covered the loans with insurance and so on, but just set specific timelines because she's a busy woman. Just to say next week, Thursday, by then, if you call the bank and let me know, and then we can take it so and so and give her some other assignments to complete because it's quite a lot to chew off. Then the other thing is that it's important to explain the kind of insurance that the bank would give, and the traditional insurance versus creditor life need to be explained so that the fact that she's not even sure that insurance is on there, it means she might have gotten the creditor life and she didn't understand what she got. So it could bring that up even as because you're also educating. You're selling, but it's a lot of education. So you're educating on traditional versus a creditor life. And you will point out why you can also do a replacement of. So even if there is creditor life, then she can replace with traditional so that when she pays down, the mortgage and the loan. In case of death, the family has something or the business has something to get. Yes, so that's one point. Yes, it can be replaced.
In other words, what Kedin is saying, you know, credit to life is the bank's insurance, is not his. The bank is protecting themselves. As soon as they pay them off, that self-destruct. So she would have no mortgage. So one personal thing is good.
Thanks for that, Kedin. Anybody else before Mr. Samuel comes on? I don't want him to transform again because, as I said, he looks very different on camera. And I think the longer we keep him on, he's transforming to somebody else. So anybody else has any comments? Mr. Heaven, you're on? Is Oral on? All right, so I'm not hearing Oral. All right, go ahead, Ron.
All right, so thank you so much, and pleasant afternoon to everyone. It is with great privilege that I do the vote of thanks for this afternoon. Truly, we have been inspired, and with the example that was given, it helps us to be even much more rounded than all we currently are. So first and foremost, I want to thank our special speakers who have enlightened us, who have shared some information with us, and truly we are grateful. So thanks to everyone who has taken the time out of their day to be a part of this meeting and how much we can impact the society with the services that we offer. Thanks again to everyone. Big thank you to God himself for, giving us the health and the strength so we can go out and be successful, to be productive. So have a wonderful evening, everyone. God bless you and take care.
Awesome. Thanks very much, Ron. Ron is a new kid on the block as well. So we're happy to have him at our JAIFA meeting, and I'm sure that he will be using the information that was shared today. All right, so before we continue, just want to throw it out there. Any other business? Is there any other business that you'd want to discuss before we wrap up today's meeting? Anybody from the exec have anything to share before we leave? All right, so I'm not hearing anyone. Seems as if we're okay for now. So just want to inform us that our next meeting will be on June 13, 2022. The same Zoom link right here. We'll have another interesting program. Please do invite, especially the new agents, to come out, because some of this material is not really shared at the initial stage. And so they will be very, it is good for them to be here, to be educated. All right. So if there's no other business and everybody's okay, just going to ask somebody just to move for the meeting to be adjourned. So 2 persons.
So before you go, okay, somebody move.
Go ahead, Tanya.
Okay, I just want to say a big thank you to you all, and to add to what Ron said, it was really an informative meeting. And thanks Candace and the team and Mr. Holt for walking us through. And I'm sure we would have all learned. I myself learned from the presentation. And we just want to continue to grow as a chapter and to encourage persons to continue to volunteer and also to be a part of our activities that we're having. And just to let you know, we'll be handing over some money to the St. Simon Primary School in the coming month. So we'll inform you some more on the date, the exact date, when we would have made a decision at our exec meeting. Again, thanks again, everyone, and do enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
All right, so Amoy has moved for the meeting to be adjourned. Could we get somebody to second it, please? I see Richard has raised his hand. Does that mean you're seconded? Or Rowan?
Yes, seconded by me.
Okay, all right, Mr. Tillwell has seconded. All right. Thanks everyone for coming out and have a successful rest of the day.
Thank you, brother. Thank
We'll
you.
get a Jane on your way after this meeting. All right.
Is this thing not finished? Leave.